2018. I hereby declare this meeting of the Howell Township Zoning Board to be open. Adequate notice having been given pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meeting Act in the following manner. First, on January 9th, 2018, a copy of said notice was mailed to the Asbury Park Press and the Tri-Town News. Second, on January 9th, 2018, a copy of said notice was hand-delivered to the clerk of the Township of Howell. Third, on January 9th, 2018, said notice was posted in the office of the Zoning Board and on the bulletin board in the Howell Township Municipal Building, 4567 Route 9, Howell Township, New Jersey. In accordance with the Fire Prevention Code and your safety, please be advised that this facility has 2 emergency exits which are on your right at the front and rear of the meeting room. Furthermore, smoking is not permitted in the municipal building. Please take note that this meeting is being videotaped for possible future broadcast on Howell Township TV 77.
Thank you, Eileen. Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, you may. Mr. Armada.
Present.
Mr. Hughes.
Here.
Mr. Mertens.
Here.
Mr. O'Donnell has been excused. Mr. Posh.
Here.
Mr. San Clemente has been excused. Mr. Orozco.
Here.
Mr. Moretti.
Here.
Chairman Nansen.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Tropoli, you mind swearing in the professionals, please? Oh, I skipped it. Go ahead.
I swear that the testimony I give this evening will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Right, so we have a full complement of professionals tonight. We have Mr. Cunliffe, Mr. Mallon, Ms. Spiro, Ms. Beam, and Mr. Howard, all sworn.
Thank you, sir. Can we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Dan Happy.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Since Mr. Armada and, gosh, I'm going to get it right, O'Donnell and San Clemente are absent, our 2 alternates will be voting tonight.
Yes.
Okay, approval of minutes,
There's no minutes this evening.
vouchers,
No vouchers.
correspondence.
No correspondence. Although I do have to say that one application that's scheduled for tonight is Robert and Dolores Kowalski. That had to be rescheduled due to an issue with their notice. So they are now being scheduled for June the 11th, and they will renotice.
June 11th and renotice. Is there anyone in the audience for case number BA 18-02, Robert and Dolores Kowalski? Seeing none, this case will be carried to June 11th with renotice. Do we need extension of time?
No, they're still good.
Okay,
And that's it on correspondence.
okay, thank you. Resolutions.
We have no resolutions this evening.
Okay, applications before the board, case number BA 15-19, Gross and Gross Associates, extension of time. Applicant of Gross and Gross Associates LLC is applicant Gross and Gross Associates ETALS as owner seeking a 1-year extension of time on their preliminary major site plan approval to subdivide the property into 20 new lots, 17 for residential building lots, 1 for existing dwelling, and 2 for stormwater management lots on premises known as Block 172, lots 4 through 6, 8, 8.04, 10, 11, 11.01, Asbury Avenue and Clover Hill Lane. Expiration date, August 11th, 2018.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Salvatore Alfieri on behalf of the applicant. The applicant received this approval in December of 2015, so that the 3-year statutory protection period would not expire until December of this year. But the applicant wanted to come in early to ask for a 1-year extension from December in order to perfect the approvals. Since the date of the approvals, he did get the most complicated and time-consuming of the approvals, which was the NJDEP permits. But there was a contract purchaser who they were negotiating with, And during the time period when that contract purchaser was involved, there was a period of time where no actions were taken to perfect the approval. That deal has fallen through, so the applicant has authorized his engineer to move forward with the efforts to perfect. What we have to do is we have to submit revised plans to the board to address all the resolution compliance issues. Once that's, and we also have to get Middlesex County and Ocean County and Monmouth County Soil Conservation District approval, utility authority approvals, and then we have to, once the plans are approved by your engineer, we have to prepare all the easements, get the bond estimates, and go through that whole process. So we're going to need that year. 6 months, we have about 6 months right now, is not going to be enough time to take those efforts on and complete them.
Mr. Mallon?
I have no problem with it. Did I hear right that the contract purchaser backed out? Is that what happened?
Yes.
Yeah, so now you have to seek a new,
Well, no, we're going to move forward.
you're going to move forward with it? Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Ms. Beam?
I have no issue.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to extend the extension of time for this application.
That's from December, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second it.
I have a motion by Mr. Martins, seconded by Mr. Amata. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Amata?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Mr. Mertens?
Yes.
Mr. Posh?
Yes.
Mr. Orozco?
Yes.
Mr. Moretti?
Yes.
Chairman Nansen?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Alfieri.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay, next case. Case number BA 18-10, Peter Gassa. Bulk variance, application of Peter Gassa as applicant owner seeking a pool and retaining wall setback variance approval to construct the in-ground pool on premises known as Block 138.09, Lot 13, 7 Tyler Court. Expiration date August 22nd, 2018. Welcome. Hi.
Gentlemen, would you please stand and be testifying tonight? Swear the testimony you give this evening will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do. Yes.
I do. Robert Burdick, professional engineer and professional planner.
Thank you, sir.
Pete Doja, D-O-Z-S-A.
All sworn, thank you. Please raise your
I said your name correctly, did it, Gosa?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Gosa,
So I reside at 7 Tyler Court, and I applied for a bulk variance for rear and side setbacks, as well as retaining walls in order to put in a pool. Chairman,
yes, sir.
I'm Robert Burdick, and I will be basically providing the testimony with regard to my qualifications. I have appeared before Howell, but I think that was a long, long time ago. I am a professional engineer and professional planner in the state of New Jersey, I've been a professional engineer for about 40 years, and planner since the 80s.
Your education?
Pardon me?
Your education?
For Bachelor's of Science in Civil Engineering from Clemson University.
Okay. We accept your credentials.
Thank you. Essentially, this project is for the construction of an in-ground pool at the single-family home at 7 Tyler Court. The property is within a planned unit development. Okay, cool. And the ARE2 zone. There are bulk variances for area, setback, lot width, and frontage and impervious, which basically the site itself does not comply with the requirements for that, but this is a planned unit development. And the planned unit development, when the map was filed, provided separate bulk variant requirements. All those bulk variance requirements are met by this lot. In other words, the lot complies with area, width, depth, and the proposed project also complies with the 50% impervious coverage in the final map. The applicant wishes to use his rear yard to construct an in-ground swimming pool. The pool is rather small in size, it's only 14 feet wide. However, the pool will require variances for side and rear yard setback, and due to the topography of the site, we are also going to need to construct retaining walls, very small ones within 1.5 to 2 feet high maximum, and those will also be within 10 feet of the property line, thus requiring variances. The site's in a fully developed single-family residential planned unit development, and we do note that looking at the Google map, the overhead, there's several pools in the subdivision. The property is a little bit unique in that if you'll see along the south and southwest property lines, there is a drainage easement, and there's actually 2 inlets on this property right at the corner. That's where the water goes to. Those drainage inlets create somewhat of a unique situation for the property. Also, the rear yard is relatively shallow. We would like to place this pool kind of at the end of the steps coming down from the home, and then have 3 feet of concrete to the pool, 3 feet beyond that, and that's what drives the setbacks as we have shown them on the plan.
Thank you.
Also, when you grade a pool, you have to have it flat. Not only the pool, but the sidewalks as well. This lot drops about 2 feet from the house to the rear property line, and in order to accommodate that, and the position of it, we do need small retaining walls. Again, they are a maximum of 1.5 feet. The variances specifically that we're requesting is rear yard setback to the pool of 6 feet, side yard setback of 5 feet, rear yard setback to the wall of 2 feet, and side yard setback to the wall of 1.5 feet. We are requesting 49.4% impervious coverage, where 15 is allowable in the ARE zone, but 50% was allowable by the map. I think our numbers are a little bit different, but I believe that they were measured to the inside of the wall rather than the outside of the wall. And Mr. Mallon has corrected them in his letter. The lot, with regard to Mr. Mallon's letter of 419, paragraph 1 basically outlines the variances. Again, variances for the pool and retaining wall setbacks. Mr. Mallon does point out that this is an ARE2 zone, and we believe it's part of a previous planned unit development, which has already dedicated substantial areas of property as open space. But again, the file map had specific requirements for this lot, and those requirements are met. Paragraphs 2 and 3, as pointed out in Mr. Mallon's report, we are requesting a few waivers. One of them is from the provision of easements. We're not proposing any easements. There is an easement on the site, and that's in the file map. It's a drainage easement. Second one is from the provision of architectural plans. Since we're not building a structure, we have no architectural plans. And the third one is we did the scale of the drawing to 1 inch equals 10 feet versus 120. Gives us a little bit better definition and easier to read that pool, that plan, so we do request those waivers. With regard to the variances, we again point out that the rear yard is relatively narrow, but also point out that an in-ground pool is a normal and customary accessory use for a single-family home. Therefore, we believe that the plan does comply with the municipal land use law by providing sufficient space in an appropriate location for this recreational amenity to the single-family home. We also point out that the proposed pool will provide an aesthetic improvement for the site and area. When we're looking at variances, we are looking at the disadvantages as well. The disadvantages of this proposal would be perhaps a little bit more intense use of that rear yard than if there were no pool. However, this is a single-family home, relatively consistent with all of the other surrounding uses. The other potential is for stormwater impact on this property, as we are increasing stormwater, we're increasing impervious coverage. However, if you take a look at the plan, actually what we are doing is we are draining all of the water from the area between the home and the pool towards the south property line, and again, the water on the west side of the pool towards the south. In this area here, we have a boxed out area. That is a recharge trench. We provided 1 cubic foot of storage per 12 square feet. That combined with the pool, the water that will stay in the pool during most rains itself will protect the other properties from, in that area, from the additional stormwater. In addition, there are 2 inlets in there, therefore the water will go directly into those inlets if it overflows. Again, the grading between Mr. Mellon points out that the grading between the wall itself and the property line, and requested information with regard to that, we're going to keep that at the existing grades. Stormwater does flow in that area and around to this inlet. Mr. Mallon suggests that maybe we put a recharge area in there, and that's a good idea. We'll place recharge stone in this area. That area then can be used for further stormwater mitigation, and we can also, any backwash from our filter can go into that area as well. Based on that, will even further reduce the stormwater impacts of this proposal. With regard to number 8, certainly the applicant will place a note on the plans and agree to repair any township infrastructure or curb damaged by the construction of this site construction on this site to the engineer's satisfaction. And paragraph 9, we will certainly provide a plan showing the updated topographic information. We do have our surveyor sign off on the pool plan so that the board can be assured that it is accurate. With regard to the administrative conditions, the applicant certainly will accept all the administrative conditions and provide all of the necessary payments for inspection and review escrows and applications. Based on that, once again, we believe that this is an appropriate use of the rear yard. The pool is rather small, and we've gone to great lengths to make sure that stormwater does not affect the adjacent properties.
Okay, let's go back to the drainage.
Yes, sir.
Okay, lot 14.
Okay.
Okay, your proposed top of wall is 97.6, or your grade there on your I guess,
Yes.
northwest corner or northeast corner.
Northeast corner, yes, sir.
Would be 97.6, then you got 97.7, 97.6, so you got a high point going 2 different directions.
Actually, you don't, because what happens is, you see the 97 contour back in this area. That 97 contour will wrap around and basically go into this area and into the wall area along this property in this area.
But the property is 97 on lot 14.
Right, and it will continue to go down to this 96.6 on the northwest corner. And
Right.
then around...
on lot 6.
Lot 6, and continue to go down towards the inlets.
But if you look at the grades, you got a 96 straight, and then you got a 95, or 96, and it you know, you're kind of diverting water that's naturally going to go across this. Now you're pushing water onto lot 6,
Actually,
more so.
we will make sure that it stays on our property and provide additional spot elevations. I see that as somewhat of a, I see that drainage barrel is in a poor location. We'll make sure that this water continues around our northeast property line and back around to the west property line to make sure that that does not become a problem for the adjacent property owner.
Mr. Mallon?
Well, he's almost a foot taller than the elevation on the adjoining lot, Lot 14.
Correct,
That's where you're talking about.
correct.
Basically, it's going to back up the water on Lot 14. He creates a swell, but he's only got a foot and a half in there.
I know.
And he's going to have a fence.
Two
There's
fences.
not a lot of room there.
I think there's two fences there.
If we were to place drainage or yard inlets in this area, we could capture that water and keep it in a recharge facility, and then basically put a bubbler down further towards the southwest and for release of storm water.
Yeah, but where are you going to have room to put a yard inlet in that corner? Because it's all tight right there.
It is very tight, but we have a foot and a half from the property line to the pool on the northeast end, and we have 2 feet in the rear. That would be large enough for an 8-inch pipe and surrounded by 4 inches of stone on either side. I mean, if the board wishes, we can certainly move the pool a foot or two towards the south, or towards the west, actually, to accommodate a little bit of additional area for a drainage system.
That would be the logical move. And then you can kind of feather that grade back down to your grade.
Yeah, it'll give us a little bit more area to grade it properly.
But am I correct, Jack? The retaining wall has to be 5 feet off of,
Yes.
That's by code, yes.
by code?
By code, and then a 4-to-1 slope from that to there. But the fence, you got the fence in there, it's going to take up 6 inches. You're really cutting back, Bob, on your area. Can that pool be slid to the left as we're looking at it?
Certainly, that's to the
I mean,
south.
you know, that would be solve part of the problem, even if you move it a couple of feet.
Okay. I don't think...
That would be one. That takes care of Lot 14. What about, along Lot 6, the elevations you've given me, which side of the wall is that, Bob? I mean, it's got to be on the Lot 6 side, correct?
That's correct, the lower side.
Because yours has to maintain, first of all, your wall is only 97.5, yet your decking and the water is 97.9. And
Yeah, that's-
what do you have?
That's a poor elevation there, particularly the bottom of that wall is going to be lower to about 96 or 97.0, and this one will be about 96.5. I think we were thinking that we could go down that 6 inches from there, but we'll flatten that area so that we make sure that we don't have a big slope between the bottom of our wall
Well,
and the property line.
the question and the problem is water runoff from the pool that goes on the neighbors. Neighbor has a nice garden back there. That was the reason why the ordinance went in that you got to be 10 feet.
Understand?
I don't know if that wall is there a curve on the wall, or they're going to be flush to the concrete?
It'll basically be flush to the concrete, but a little bit higher so that stormwater flows. We can certainly put in trench drains to make sure all stormwater flows towards our recharge pit so that none is released over the wall onto the neighbor's property.
So you have to create the wall higher than the concrete.
Yes,
They'll have a curb.
It'll be like a curb, exactly. But about how much?
inch,
Couple inches? 4 inches? 3, 4 inches?
about an inch should do because all you're capturing is about 3 feet of concrete in that area. You want to go 2 inches? No problem.
I mean, it's got to be higher to direct the water down into your recharge area. I mean, that was the purpose of it. What about if the pool was made narrower? Is there any way to make it narrower? I mean, you can't really move it much closer to the house because of where the steps are.
Narrow pool, I think we'd rather move the pool 1 foot and maybe sacrifice a little bit of the pool concrete on the west side rather than narrow the pool.
Well, the standard around the pool from the pool company is 3 feet.
That's correct. But you
We
can
know
go down
because we've been burned many times where they go to put 3 feet in, and then when they go to do the concrete, because the pool guy doesn't really do that. And the guy says, boy, I got a deal from you, let's do 10 feet. And how many times we've had people come back because of the fact that they don't follow with the approved plan. And I think we've only had one person I can remember that we made them cut the concrete.
Yep. Two.
Some of the others had to come back and put under drains and curbs in to retain the water. But you're saying you could move it about another foot closer to the house?
Yeah, we could move it about a foot closer to the house. We've got about a foot between the bottom of our steps and the concrete.
Which would give you another foot on the other side, correct?
Right.
Yes,
And really what you need is the distance between the wall and the property line.
that's correct.
And you could move it 2 feet, you said, to the, I
Toward the
guess,
house.
to the left or towards
the
lot 12?
Yeah, towards lot 12, yes, sir.
And that'll allow you to get then a drain in on the lot 14 side, correct?
That's correct.
All right, that also allows you a little bit better chance to getting your 4-to-1 slope in between the wall.
Yeah.
You're still going to be,
Actually, I would try to get it a lot flatter than that so that we make sure that stormwater gets in the drain as opposed to going off into our neighbor's property.
so what you said is you'll move it 2 foot to the left, 1 foot closer to the house.
Yes,
You'll provide a yard inlet where the 97.7 is to pipe that down to the recharge area.
yes,
You're with another foot, that would, and you'll have to give me a 6-inch, a 2 or 3 inch curb along the, on the wall, along the concrete. Because remember, you're gonna be up,
2 feet.
97.6.
2 feet.
2 feet.
Yeah, you're gonna be filling 2 feet along there, along the neighbor.
All right.
And according to this, is that an existing fence there, or is that you're gonna upgrade to 6 foot?
It is a 6-foot fence.
Excuse me, what?
It is a 6-foot fence.
The fence in the back, is that proposed or existing?
Existing.
Existing, and it's 4 foot or 6?
6.
6, okay.
Now, is that your fence, or is that the neighbor's
My
fence?
fence.
Your
Yep.
fence, okay.
Because according to this, you know, you're not on the property line. It doesn't show me on the survey what my distance is between the fence and the property line. But it's drawn like you got a foot, foot and a half, which really cuts back on your ability, Mr. Burdick. I mean, you only got 6.5, the fence is a foot and a half, that gives you a 5.5 to the water line from the fence. I'll leave it up to the board, so you'll do the stone under drain along the back of the wall along 6, you'll create an inlet along 14, you'll move it 2 foot to the left and 1 foot closer to the house, and create a curb.
That's fine.
Now, Jack, will they need a variance for that wall being
Yes,
not in the 5 feet?
yes.
Yes.
Yeah, because the wall right now now this is to the inside of the wall, I take it, the wall's probably a foot wide?
Yes. About 6
So
feet.
it was 2.5, now you're gonna move it a foot, so now it's gonna be 3.5 feet to the
Right.
face of the wall
Right,
from the property line,
okay.
and 2.5 from the fence, approximately. 2.5 to 3.
Now, is this going to be a pin wall, or is it going to be a masonry?
The wall will be a keystone type
Okay.
gravity
So
wall.
it'd be pinned?
Yes.
Okay, is the pool, is that going to be a liner pool, or is it going to be a gunite?
Liner.
Liner?
Yes, sir.
Do you have enough room for the bracing in there?
Yes.
Yes.
We've got 3 feet between the pool and the wall, and there are no tiebacks because...
There are none?
It's only 2 feet,
What, the total depth of the pool is 2 feet,
8 feet.
8 feet?
6 feet, I'm sorry.
Six
6 feet.
6 feet?
Yes.
Okay, do you have a basement?
No,
No basement, so it's slab on grade?
it's not a slab, it's got a...
Crawl space?
Yeah,
Okay.
a 3-foot crawl.
There's no structural, all of that's been calculated?
Yeah, it goes down 1 to 1, we're 11 feet off, so we're fine.
Well, you're
It
gonna
will
be 10 feet now.
off. Yeah, and we're still fine.
Where's the pool equipment gonna go?
Pool equipment's on the
Oh, okay,
northwest corner of the
I
house.
see it.
Mr. Burdick, you'll provide a backwash area, you said, right?
Yeah, we'll tie that backwash into the recharge area that we're building around the wall.
Are you gonna try to pipe it over to the stone area, or are you gonna
Yeah.
create another stone area?
That'll be by flexible, we'll pipe it over by flexible pipe to the new recharge area back in here.
Okay.
Don't you think it's easier to just put another recharge area right alongside the house?
That's what,
Only because, no offense on Mr. Garza, but I'm feeling you're gonna take the easiest way. If I was doing it, that's what I'd be doing. I wouldn't be piping it all the way.
Well, I grew up in a home that we had a variance, similar size pool, although it was 16 feet wide. We did have a variance similar to this, and we backwashed once a year at the end of the season.
Okay,
That was the only time we backwashed.
Was it salt water or?
It's going to be salt water.
Okay.
I could also get the cartridge filter, which would eliminate that I would have no backwashing, if you prefer.
Well, salt water you don't get much. Back to
Right.
sill,
I was going to get a self-contained pool cleaner that you wouldn't have to worry about backwashing.
right. Do you envision a heater for the pool?
Yes,
You'll put it right in the same area where the pool equipment is?
yes,
So you'll maintain the setbacks?
yes.
Side setbacks?
Yes, sir.
Here's that question. I don't want you to be getting all this and then you have to come
Yeah.
back for the heater.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Ms. Beam?
I mean, Mr. Burdick, are you going to put on any planning testimony?
I had put on the planning
I mean,
testimony.
what goal of zoning are we advancing here?
Pardon me?
What goal of zoning are we advancing here?
We're advancing the appropriate location for an appropriate use, which is, I believe, is G, and also aesthetics.
I think that's a bit of a stretch, to be perfectly honest. You know, the appropriate location for a pool is 10 feet off the lot line. And I'm not sure how putting in a pool improves the aesthetics in the backyard. You know, I would add that the lot is relatively small in size, and that, you know, it is situated in the rear. You know, do you need a pool that's 32 feet long? You need rear and side
Yes.
setback. And really, the justification is because this is the size pool you want, right? I mean, in reality?
Actually, I believe he would rather a larger pool, however,
Well,
the
I-
narrowness of the lot and the encumbrances of the easements along the south and the southwest corner are also unique conditions which do affect this pool, this property.
I mean, I would defer to the board. I don't necessarily know. I mean, I know we've had some applicants come relatively in the recent past where we did not agree with the size of the pool because they required relief associated with the setback. I understand the rear. I mean, it is what it is. A 14-foot wide pool is relatively small in size. They've agreed to move it a foot closer to the house, leaving a 7.5-foot setback. But, you know, they're at 7 feet on the side. You know, maybe the pool should be 30 feet long, and then it's 9 feet from the side lot line, leaving more room for drainage. But I would defer to you. I don't necessarily agree that those goals of zoning are advanced at all. At the end of the day, this is a small lot that was purchased by the applicant, understanding the constraints associated with it. So, I mean, I would defer to you, but I don't think that, appropriate development at appropriate location is at all applicable with respect to this case.
Mr. Mallon, any further?
Nothing further, no.
Okay. I would ask Ms. Shapiro, but I don't think there's any plantings here. Board, do y'all have any questions? Questions? Okay. Does that conclude your testimony right now?
That pretty much concludes it. Again, we're looking at a small pool, small backyard, and we do once again point out that we are less than required for, or less than allowable for the impervious coverage, so we do believe it's appropriate for the yard.
Okay.
But I don't see any easement, do you?
I just had one question.
Yes, sir.
So you're thinking with this rechargeable thing that you're going to use for the filter, you won't have to backwash during the season?
Growing up, I backwashed once at the end of the
Okay.
season. That was the only time we backwashed the pool, but even if that's what a diatomaceous earth filter, if I got a cartridge filter, you don't backwash.
Well,
What if
then-
you have a heavy rain event?
Yeah, heavy rain
What if you
event.
have a heavy rain event and 2 to 3 inches of water get put in your pool, and now the water level is above your skimmers? You're gonna have to backwash to get the level of the pool back to where it should be, correct?
Yes.
So to say that it's gonna be backwashed once per
Yeah.
year, I don't think you wanna put that kind of testimony on the record, because even lately, we've had significantly heavy storm events that have dropped several inches of rain in a very short period of time. If your pool was open and operating, you would have had to backwash several times to get the water level back to where the actual mechanicals could function, correct?
Sure.
Yeah, I concur with the plan on this, because I had a pool and with heavy rain, 3, 4 inches, the water's going to have to go somewheres. Now, would you have a flexible hose where you could divert it somewhere else where it's not going all in one
Yeah,
place?
we can flexible hose it
To the street.
Either the street or to one of the inlets in the rear.
See, now, your salt water. You're going to put salt water out?
Certainly.
Yeah.
Mr. Mallon, is that common practice, putting salt water out, just letting it free fall?
Yes,
Okay.
for salt water.
Can you make that 30-foot pool instead of 32?
Had to.
That would relieve, it's not going to relieve unless you move, if you made that a 30-foot pool and you moved, no, you'd still have to move 3 feet down. But it's still,
It still would require a variance.
It would still require variance.
I know, but it's alleviating a lot of drainage issues.
agree.
That 2 extra foot would eliminate a lot of drainage issues. Do you have a problem doing that? Go to 30, 14 by 30?
Sure.
Okay. Got that, Mr. Mallon?
Mr. Chairman, I don't know if he can he move it 4 feet?
It would be nice, and that'd eliminate that whole variance.
Well, it wouldn't eliminate it, but if he moves it 4 feet, then he has 9 feet to the property line, but he's closer to the wood edging and the recharge area. But would move him, the edge of the concrete, would put him really, the wood edging is basically 3 foot off the concrete,
But
proposing, so he would go 1 foot into the wood edging.
But see, Mr. Mallon, just looking at my drawing, well, actually, if you look at this drawing, the 5 feet, if you look at the point is here, not to the property line.
I don't know, that's,
Because this line, Where'd it go?
Well, it doesn't,
This line runs right here and then goes...
that's the fence line, yeah.
Here's
No.
your property line right here. So this is not to your property line.
Well, it scales 5 feet off the property line.
That could be a
to the
draft.
face of the water.
Yeah, that could be a drafting error too, where it was our intention to have it 5 feet off the property line, so.
Okay, so you had planned to come to here. Okay, so you're still going to do...
So if he moves it 4 feet to the left, he can maintain his 32-foot pool. He'll have 9 feet from the face of water to the property line, and he'll have 6 feet then between the edge of the concrete and the property line.
Right.
So the variance would be 6 versus 10. And it gives him more room to put his drain.
Right.
I thought we were going to move it 2 feet.
And there's nothing in there that I see makes a difference with the steps coming down with the pool.
No, because you're going to maintain the same distance as it is, except losing the 1 foot.
Right, correct.
Do you understand what Mr. Mallon's speaking about?
Yes, he wants the pool moved 4 feet to the,
Keep your 32 feet, move the pool 4 feet
Okay.
instead of the 2 feet.
all right, fair enough,
And you can keep that,
at 32 feet.
yes,
Okay, then we will agree to that.
okay. Okay, any other questions from the board?
Yeah.
Board professionals, any further questions? Does that
No.
further the planning a little bit?
I think it's a better solution.
Right.
It provides adequate airlight and open space. It doesn't create any impediments for drainage along the side lot line.
Right.
The rear is tight, and there's really nothing they can do about that. They've moved it as close to the house as they physically can, so I think it's a better alternative.
Okay,
For sure.
thank you. Okay, at this time, we'll open the public for questions and comments to the,
I'll make a motion to open to the public.
motion by Mr. Amata,
I'll second.
second by
I'm ready.
Mr. Moretti. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. If you want to come forward, please be sworn in, put your name on the record, and it's questions and comments to the applicant.
The swear testimony you give this evening will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the
Yes.
truth. We'll need your full name and your address, please.
Jill Sherman, 17 Arrowwood Court in Howell. So I'm in, on your pictures, Lot 6.
Okay, you're lot 6.
I'm Lot 6. I'm
Okay.
kind of the people you were talking about. So I've been neighborly, we've spoken with Pete and his family. We're all for him having a pool. It has nothing to do with that, but our concern is the drainage issue, strictly drainage. We have, as you know, and I don't know your terminology, so please forgive me, but
Go right ahead.
we have a sewer easement that runs the length, not just my houses, but Lot 7, 5, it runs all the way down to the end of the street.
Now, does that go on the backside of your property?
It's the backside of my property. It runs, as he's pointing out, to that line, but it also runs down further towards the back, all the way down. Anyone who's on the back property, we have severely flooded issues anyway. It has nothing to do with them or us, it's just what our house is. Yes, we've had a lot of storms lately, but even prior to the storms, I can go back then on any given day where I have sunshine in the afternoon, in the back, sunshine in the morning, and it's flooded on a regular basis. So I understand there's easements, I understand their goal of their house is to make sure that this isn't an issue. My concern and my neighbor's concerns is that's great, but what happens if there is an issue? What happens if we have the storms we had for the last week, where I literally can go in my own swimming pool in the backyard because that's how much water there's back there? I understand that there's inlets, as you guys called it. That's awesome, but if it's already not accepting the water that's there, this is not going to help the situation. So I'm not sure, again, I don't know your jobs, I just don't know how it's not going to make the situation worse. I understand, or I'm trying to understand, that there'll be gravel on the properties, and hopefully that's the goal, and that'll be enough. But what happens if we have that situation? It's called, Mother Nature, and we've had these storms. Is it going to be enough to hold the water onto the property so it doesn't grade into mine? Or if there's, between the fence and the wall, I don't know what the term is. How do I know the water's not going to sit back there? I don't know how to guarantee that it's going to go strictly into the drain that's sitting on my property.
Right. Now, let me ask you a few questions. On your property, whenever it rains, do those inlets get overflowed?
On occasion, it's not regular, but on occasion.
Okay, I was looking at the grading here. Mr. Mallon, if she has an easement in her backyard, whoever has that easement, if it's a sewer easement,
It's a storm sewer easement, and it runs from one street to the next. It goes down Mr. Garza's property, then cuts over about 15 feet, and then turns and goes down the side lot line of Mrs. Sherman out to the next street.
well, having those catch basins right there, she shouldn't, especially being Lot 6, she shouldn't have any water on her property. And
Well, I don't know how our lot is graded.
That's what I'm saying. I think there might be a grading issue there. And if it's in the easement, if
If
it's,
you look at the grading, I mean, if you look at the... if
it's
you
a
look-
very slow grade.
You go to the, I guess, northeast side, it's 96, it flows down, the grade's at 94.5.
I know, but you got a 95, you've got a 95-1 that's about, it drops at least 6 inches in probably 10 feet.
Right.
So there could be a very big grade issue that's trapping water back on her property if it's in the easement. Who's responsible for the grade of the easement?
Well, normally it's property owner. If they're off bonds with the township and the developer, then it's up to the requirement of the property owner to do it. They may have to regrade their yard.
Okay.
Once it's done, I don't know what the original grades were. Ms. Sherman, how long you been in the house?
I'm original owner, so 2004 we moved in.
Okay.
14 years.
So you're well beyond going back to the developer or anything.
Right.
Yeah.
And, but you say that the inlets sometimes overflow?
Not regular, but it has happened on occasion.
But you're saying that water stands back there?
Oh, yeah, and not just my property, Lot 7, Lot 5, I can walk back there on any given day, and
But it's not the inlet, it's not coming out of the sewer where the sewer's
No.
coming.
That's- There's a grading problem, it sounds like.
so again, I understand that, and I'm not going to place blame. I understand that may have been the builder, I mean, I don't grade my own property, if the builder did that,
Right.
and that's fine, but now we're adding additional stress to the property.
Well, see, that's what we're trying to eliminate, is
Understood,
that
so,
type of stress. Anything coming from this property, that's what we're trying to control right now, is to make sure it's all stays right here. And that's one of the
That's why we
reasons.
asked the curb, so the water doesn't flow onto your property. From there.
right, so I'm trying to understand, because again, I'm not in your field, but
Okay.
again, if you're explaining like a curb, I'm thinking like from the street to the sidewalk, that's a curb. I mean, what happens if it is a rainstorm? We had rain for the last 5.5 days. I mean, it was like something we've never seen. There's no place for it to go except over it. And then what
Well,
happens?
the way it's set up, it would be directed down towards that one inlet on the corner of your property.
Right.
Yep.
But if it doesn't get into that inlet,
Yeah.
so we can only go by what's shown here and make the accommodations of his improvements. Doesn't direct the water on your property, directs it down. He has a stone area, and then it's supposed, for recharging, and then it's supposed to, I would imagine if it's overflowed, it
Go
would
to
go
the-
into the
Inlet.
inlet. Now, there's almost a 2-foot drop in there from his area where he has the wood edging to the inlet. Great.
Yeah, it's 2 feet. Yes, sir.
Just a question, because I'm not sure myself, but presently, without that retaining wall, without anything, the water that's on the property, Mr. Gross's property,
Yes,
is flowing into
her property.
That's
her
correct.
property.
Yes.
So by putting this retaining wall up and raising it and putting the curb on is going to prevent that water from going into your property, maybe helping her situation?
That's what we're hoping.
That's what.
But see, that's why we were talking about Lot 14 exclusively.
Right.
Because Lot 14, if they don't do something to correct the flow of water coming off of Lot 14, they would be diverting that into your property. Now they're going to take that flow into their corner, and they're going to catch that water coming off of Lot 14. And then they're going to dispose of that water. So that water, it should eliminate the water coming, because everything's draining back to your property. You know, all of Lot 14, the applicant's property, all of those lots along there drain back towards that back portion.
Right.
So what we're trying to do is looking at the elevations, making them correct some of their problems. That's why we're wanting to ship the pool down, is they're going to put an inlet in there so they can catch that water coming off of 14 and divert that into a trench or into a recharge. So that water's not going to be coming on your property anymore. The water that now comes, because it's roughly about 2-foot elevation from their house to your property line now, you know, all of that water goes right, sheets into there, and the way the drainage is, it looks like it stands there until it finally, starts to go up. But that's what we're trying to eliminate.
No, and I appreciate that, and like I said, let him have his pool, I'm okay with that, I just don't want to, again, and I had said this to Pete the other day, the engineer and the guy physically doing the job are two different people, and you had passed a comment you've had before, they're not the
Yes,
one and
we
the
have.
same. So my question is, that's great, you all approve him, awesome, thumbs up, but what happens if it's not done to spec, or there's an issue, and now it's 6 months later, it's a year later, and now all that water that we tried to avoid is not corrected, and I'm in a situation where I am? That's my question, I don't know.
Well, see,
So I can answer that. So the township has, after this whole process, building permits, engineering permits, land use permits all have to be applied for. These plans are submitted. We have an engineering department that inspects every stage of the project, right up until the completion, and make sure that this plan is followed to the letter with all the grading. So all these systems, as they are, if they were to be approved, everything that would be on this plan would be installed in the field.
Okay, great. So let's say in all theory, it sounds awesome, this is going to work, but it doesn't. I mean, maybe the guy does it to spec, and we're 6 months down the road, and we're in a situation like, it all sounded great, it looked good on paper, and it didn't work out the way everyone thought it does. What do we do then?
But what I'm saying is, you have water ponding there now.
Understood.
Okay, we're not going to eliminate your ponding area.
Understood. I want it where it is now. If it's going to be worse, then I have an issue.
I don't think you will if this goes in this way. Yeah, I really don't. I think it's going to eliminate some of your water problems. I can't guarantee you that it will, but I feel the way that it's draining now, that water is not going to be going to your property now.
Listen, I'm all for it. I understand there's no guarantees in life, I get it, but that's my concern is what if? It's the what if, and I know you guys can't answer that, but that's...
You can go right to that man sitting right there, and he'll help you out.
Which one?
Matt Howard. That's our code official right
Okay.
there. So,
That was my concern.
land use officer. So, you go see Matt, and he'll direct you to where you need to go. But where I was coming from a while ago, Mr. Mallon, is there anything that we could do? Who is in charge of that easement, though? The piping and everything like that? Who's in?
Township easement, because it's a drainage easement and it takes road runoff. So
Right.
if there was anything in that, township would have the responsibility if it's clogged or something. 'Cause
Right.
it's part of the township drainage system, because it takes street runoff.
But is there anything, Matt, Mr. Howard, I'm going to ask you this, is there anything we could do to maybe spot check some of those elevations back there to see what's going on?
Well, we can check, what's in the easement and the pipe and
I
the
know,
inlet is
I
really
know,
what
it's two different
the township has
things.
responsibility of. If people are
I know, it's
changing,
bad
not
grade,
that
bad grade.
anybody here has, but if other people are changing grades of their yard or making improvements in their yard that may or may not be
Yeah,
permitted,
I know, just regrading.
those things are out of the township's control.
Okay. And then,
But the engineering department can double check that everything's in working order as far as the infrastructure
Right.
that the township's responsible for.
okay. Do you have a landscaper that does your yard? Why don't you ask them to look at that back there? There might be something they can do too. maybe regrade the back a little bit to get it to where it just pitches right on
I
into
know
the...
that's my money out of pocket to fix that too.
I know,
so-
but technically it was a developer's issue. But I have a feeling it's going to be the elevation, there's an elevation on your property that is holding the water in your property. And that's because if you look, you've got a 96 down to a 94 elevation to the inlet elevation, the top of the grate of the inlet. You got 2 feet probably in 50 feet? There's 2 feet of drop to that inlet. So there's no reason that water should be standing in
I
the
agree, because when I look at the properties, I mean, it literally all flows, their property,
I know.
14, 13, 12, 6, 5, whatever, it all kind of flows to that.
Yeah.
Everyone's graded towards that, I get it.
Yeah,
I can speak for my own property, nothing's been changed from a grading from when the builder did it.
Right.
Not saying there hasn't been improvements on the land, but nothing's been changed from a grading. It's been the way it was built in from the builder and whoever puts in the sewer line, I have no idea, that's not my thing. But
I know.
I hear you, I mean,
But we're going to eliminate their runoff in 14's runoff, most of 14's runoff that comes on your property now. 13 we can't do nothing about because that's on the other side, so.
okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that'd like to make a comment or ask a question? Seeing none, can I have a motion to close?
I'll make a motion to close.
Motion by Mr. Amata, seconded by Mr. Moretti. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Would you like to make a closing statement, or?
Basically, the applicant is certainly willing to comply with the conditions that the board has mentioned.
Okay. Okay. Professionals, any further?
Nothing further.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I think the applicant has shown, some working with us, and I believe also the testimony of the homeowner from Lot 6. I think it's going to be better for her as well with this retention, and for the fact that the applicant is going to make, agree to bring it back a foot closer to the house, 4 feet to the left. I think he's addressed all the issues that I have, so I make a motion to approve application BA 18-02.
I second.
Seconded by Mr. Hughes. Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Amata?
Yes, and I think that this plan is going to enhance the neighbors' problems. The water will be directed into the ground, and rather than flowing, as it presently does, off this back of this property into her land. So I second it, or I make the vote for it.
That was a yes vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Mr. Mertens?
Yes.
Mr. Posh?
Yes.
Mr. Orozco?
Yes.
Mr. Moretti?
Yes.
Chairman Nansen?
Yes, based on all the testimony put on the record, and I still feel that there's a grading issue, but I don't think it's going to be created by this applicant. I think they've done their due diligence to try to control the water flow off of Lot 14 in their property, along with the pools. So my vote is yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you
Good
very much
luck.
for your time.
Good luck.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you for coming here first before you built your pool. Okay. At this juncture, can we take about a 10-minute break? Zoning board is going to break. We'll be back at 8:45. Okay, Eileen?
The zoning board will now reconvene.
Okay, Next case, case number BA 17-08, Route 9 Hardscape Supply. It's a use variance. Application of Route 9 Hardscape Supply Yard LLC is applicant. BMJB LLC is owner, seeking a use variance for the expansion of a prior non-conforming use to permit continued use of Lot 118 to be used for storage of landscape materials sold by the applicants on premises known as Block 144, Lot 116, 117, and 118, 1099 U.S. Highway Route 9 North. Expiration date, July 17, 2018. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I'm William Wenzel, and I represent the applicant.
Yes, sir.
We were intending to have Mr. Kurtz here. He's our planner.
Yes, sir.
He couldn't make it at the last minute, so we can do one of two things. We would request the board accept jurisdiction, and we can do the whole hearing on another night, or I can have Mr. Balthasar, who's the owner of the property, testify and provide lay testimony, or perhaps answer some questions that the board may have preliminarily. Totally at the board's discretion. We're more than happy to do whatever the chairman and the members of the board would request.
I think we really just want to hold the testimony at this time until we have Mr. Kurtz here, and then we can move forward that way. But I want to, Mr. Mallon, I want you to intervene here, because I think there's some information that our engineers are going to need in, as far as the board information that we're going to need also.
And Mr. Chair, while Mr. Mallon is reviewing his notes, I understand that the applicant is asking the board to accept jurisdiction. I do find that the notices are in order, and as far as I am concerned, and with respect to jurisdiction, jurisdiction has been accepted. And Mr. Wenzel, as I said, the chair is going to question, just very preliminarily ask the board professionals for some input, so that when Mr. Kurtz comes back as your planner, and I presume he'll be testifying as an engineer as well,
That's correct.
that he will essentially be given the benefit of some of the concerns I think that the board professionals have. If you have no objection doing that, I'd ask the chairman to proceed in that fashion.
I have no objections at all. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Mallon, do we have a LOI for the property?
We do not.
Okay, do you think, that we could get a LOI before you come back?
I hope so.
Okay. Mr. Mallon, any further?
Yes. Well, I'm looking at the application since 2008, when Mr. Torch had the property.
That's correct.
And there were certain things, Betty Lou Texter did a review to indicate some of the things that were really pre-existing. Most of that was on lots 115 and 116. Excuse me, 116 and 117, excuse me. 118, at that time, I think, had the remains of a burned-out house, which is now gone, and it appears there's a lot of clearing that was done on 118, and I think that's what you're cited for mainly, is the expansion. I take it, excuse me, that the survey data that was used in 2008 is similar, although I'll tell you what, it sure looks like on the aerial, like there was more clearing in the back and along the property lines by vision of the dead trees. You can see trees that are dead there. I don't know the limit. You got trailers that are sitting there that are, I take it they're not permanent structures.
That's correct.
Can be moved.
One is a storage trailer, and one is actually a trailer on wheels. It's just to be moved and it's noticed. The
But
other
those are all in the setback. Interesting enough, you may want to check on lot 114. It's listed as a qualified farm. However, if you look at the aerials, it does not appear
It's not a farm.
any farming is, well, it's qualified farm.
I understand that, but it's never been utilized as a farm.
But you have to understand, there are buffers associated with farming in Howell, and you need 50 foot. The other thing is, you're very close to Banner Meadow Brook. Normally, there's a 100-foot buffer. However, it is my understanding that a lot of that information was there in 71 before.
Well, all that information was there in 71, and I think the only thing that might possibly encroach into the stream buffer area is the bins that are on the back of the property.
That's correct.
Those bins were put in 1991.
Okay.
Which I think predates the ordinance for the stream buffers. They were permitted, they were put in,
I have to go back and check. I don't know the exact date.
I think it was 2000,
But we-
I think mine is 2002, I think.
Okay, all right.
When they did that. So,
I mean, I know there's buffers, I have to go back and check the years.
Sure.
But if it's predating, but,
all those bins were put in back in 1991, all permitted by the municipality, and that's the way it was purchased when we bought it in 2008.
as I said, there's stream corridor, you got fences out in the right-of-way.
Those are gates, those are swinging gates to keep...
Well, according to the survey, it appears that the block wall is also, the paver wall is out also. I think myself and the planner both cited it. I don't know, it's so close, I don't know how far over the line it is. Plus, it's solid. You're supposed to have 50% open, just so you're...
But the fence is just a swinging large gate.
Well, the block wall's not.
No, I know that.
But I know how high it is, but you're limited to height, to 4 foot, and you're limited to 50% open. You put a paver wall up, it's not 50% open.
I understand that. What we're talking about, and certainly we'll provide that testimony, we're talking
Right.
about small...
But that, you're asking for things that are of issue, those are the things. Drainage, equipment parking and maintenance, it stipulates maintenance, what kind of maintenance is done, what kind of is storage. You got storage in the front yard, which is not permitted.
The movable storage.
That would be something you'd have to either get a variance from the board. Parking, you need testimony on parking.
Well, again, all of these issues that you're raising, and respectfully, they're all existed at the time the property was purchased.
But you're back...
You're here for a use variance for an expansion of a non-conforming use. So now the board is looking at everything
The whole
that
site.
that has been a problem on the property,
I understand that,
moving
but...
forward. So to say it was there before is not enough. We're going to need justification and testimony on all these issues that are non-compliant with our ordinances.
But if it's a prior non-conforming use,
It
that's the
doesn't matter,
problem we're
you're
having.
back for an expansion. And the statutory requirement for an expansion is that the site can accommodate the expansion. And the things that are over the lot lines lead me, as the planner, to believe your existing operation can't function on the site. So you're going to need Mr. Kurtz, and I'm saying this with all due respect, to have his ducks in a row when he comes here.
That's why I'm doing this.
I understand.
Because I don't want to have you come back, and then we have to adjourn another meeting, because there's information that we can let you know now that's going to have to be addressed at the board. That's all we're doing right now.
And this is not the time to, argue about the issue.
No, I understand that, but they're telling you,
And I'm trying to explain to the professional...
well, I understand it, but this is what testimony we're
I
going to need.
understand.
That's why we're doing this. That way you can consult with your client along with Mr. Kurtz. And you say, look, this is what we heard from the professionals. Actually, most applicants don't get the opportunity to have an open discussion on stuff that they need to present to the board. Most applicants don't. They get here, that's it. I would go back to Mr. Kurtz and say, look, this is the discussion we had, and let him have his ducks in a row. He'll know what to present.
Oh, I know.
He's been here before. He's been here before. I mean, most of the stuff is in the letters.
Yes.
But you're here because mainly of the expansion in lot 118. That's basically where it is, and there's been clearing. I mean, you look at some of the old pictures, and behind the hydrant is a lot of woods and everything. That's gone. Everything's cleared. You got trailers and piles of material. It's, there's been a lot of expansion without any approvals. That's basically where we're going.
That's it.
And I will caution you,
Thank you.
there was reviews by the Environmental Commission, by the our safety people, the police department, and the Howell Fire Bureau.
Yes, I have all.
Those are items that you would want to, I think, address. One thing that wasn't raised in here because you're only use variance, but, DOT's very concerned about access to the site. Your property now has 3 driveways. When you think about it, you got an ingress and egress on one over by your building, and then you have another exit gate where you come out of, off of Lot 118, where you have your piles and other things stored. And that could be an issue. Now, the review was only for use variance. We did not do a review for site plan.
Yes.
You understand that? That board may come back and say, come back, they might grant you the use, but come back and ask you to give us a site plan, full site plan.
Understood.
And I didn't review it for site plan, and I don't think Ms. Beam did either.
Okay.
Okay?
Very good.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay. What date
Mr. Chair,
are we settling on?
Do you think Mr. Kurtz or whomever you'll be bringing back as your planner and/or your engineer will be ready by June 25th? Well, I understand you're not going to get an LOI by June 25th. That's not going to happen. I mean, do you want to, Jack?
Well, normally what we ask for is, it gets delineated by an environmental professional, so we know where it is, where the limits are, and then, obviously, any approval would be subject
Subject to the LOI.
DEP approval. But we would ask for some sort of expert to do the delineation.
Do you think, would June 25th be too aggressive of a date? I mean, this has been hanging out for
Yeah, I know.
a bit of time.
I don't know if we can get the LOI by then.
No,
but-
that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think Gene...
No, but you might have professional, you should be able to get a professional to
I'd like
do
to
a
see
site
Matt
review.
here on that.
Or it's up to,
With our schedule as packed out, Bill, as it is, I mean, the first clear date on this, actually, for everyone to be here would be in August.
Okay.
I mean, is that a date that you'll give us an extension of time on? Is that acceptable to everybody here?
Yeah, that gives us more than enough time to do everything that we might need.
okay.
So that's August 13th. We could put you down as case number 1. You'll have to give us an extension through August 30th on the record, extension of time for which the board to operate.
Yes.
We can, and Mr. Chair, it could be carried without any further public notice.
No further
Okay.
notice.
Question, is this the only case that's on that date?
Right
On
now.
that date, yes.
Right now, yes.
Why don't we try to keep that date to I have a feeling this is going to take all
Take some
night.
time.
It may not be that easy. We have a ton of cases.
I understand. If it's possible,
Jack just deemed 3 of them complete today, so.
okay. Okay,
We'll
if
do our
possible,
best. We'll
okay,
put something
thank you.
small on.
Because I can almost imagine that,
And
because
we
it,
have L and L before that, so.
yes. Okay, so you'll give us a extension of time?
Oh, absolutely,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, yes.
Okay, case number BA 17-08, Route 9 hardscape supply will be carried to August 13th, 7:30 PM with no further notice, and they granted us an extension of time that will come through. Thank you,
Thank you very
sir.
much.
Is there any further business of the board? Seeing none, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Ramada, seconded by Mr. Roscoe. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Board adjourns 8:58.